When I first arrived on 8 4, I thought it would just be another dusty assignment, one more alien outpost to catalog before moving on. My team had been sent to study the remnants of a once great civilization that had mysteriously collapsed centuries ago. The official report said the planet was abandoned, its cities hollowed out by time and storms. But on my second night there I saw the light. It flickered faintly from a ridge beyond the excavation site, a soft, steady pulse that didn't match any of our equipment signals. I radioed it in, but the others brushed it off. "Probably static from the atmosphere," Dr. Kell said. "You're seeing ghosts, Harper." Maybe I was. But curiosity has always been the death of reason for me. I went out alone, following that light across the black sands and through the skeletons of long-dead towers. The air tasted faintly metallic, thin but breathable. My boots sank into dust that might once have been streets. Every gust of wind sounded like a whisper. After nearly an hour of walking, I found it. A structure half buried in sand and obsidian rock. It wasn't part of the ruins we'd mapped. It looked alive. The walls pulsed faintly, breathing like the surface of some sleeping creature. And then a voice spoke. Human. It was clear, melodic, and terribly sad. A door slid open with a low sigh, and warm light spilled into the cold night. Standing inside was a woman. At least she appeared to be one. Her form was humanoid, tall and slender, but her skin shimmered like pearl and silver under the dim light. Her eyes were enormous, deep violet pools with faint rings that shifted and moved as if alive. She wore a simple robe woven from threads that looked like spun glass. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "This place remembers pain." I froze, heart hammering. My first thought was to run back and report this. First contact with a surviving Atheonite. That would rewrite our entire mission. But the fear in her tone, so gentle, so human, stopped me. "I'm Dr. Elias Harper," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I thought this world was empty." She smiled, but it was a sad, fragile thing. Empty. Well, only forgotten. Her name, as I would learn later, was Irini. The widow's house. Irini invited me inside. The structure wasn't mechanical or stone. It was grown. Every surface seemed organic, gently pulsating, emitting soft bioluminescence. The air smelled faintly of flowers, though I couldn't name the kind. She led me through a hall lined with strange objects. Translucent orbs filled with swirling light, sculptures that shifted shape when I looked at them from different angles. "This was our home," she said. "My mate built it for us before the storms came." I listened, entranced. Her voice carried both music and grief, like a song half forgotten. "You mean your husband?" I asked carefully. She nodded. "Yes. He was called Saran. We were together when the last ships left this world. He chose to stay, to preserve what remained. I stayed with him." I asked her what happened, why the Atheonites had vanished. Her gaze drifted toward the living walls, and for a moment I thought I saw tears form, tiny glimmering droplets that evaporated before falling. "Our world died," she said. "Not in fire, not in war. It was silence that killed us. Our sun began to fail, and our leaders fought over who would be saved. We watched the skies dim and forgot how to speak to one another. When Saran tried to warn them, they turned away." Her voice broke. "And when the ships departed, he said he could not leave the dead behind." I felt a chill run through me. The way she spoke, the way her hands lingered on the walls, it wasn't just history. It was memory. "How long have you been here?" I asked. She looked at me with eyes that seemed to hold centuries. "Time has no meaning when you live in grief," she whispered. I wanted to ask how she survived when her people didn't, but she motioned for me to follow. The memory garden. We stepped into a chamber filled with softly glowing plants, each one floating above the ground, roots trailing through thin air. These are the memory blooms, Irini explained. They hold the consciousness of the departed. Fragments, echoes. She reached out and brushed a petal, and suddenly I heard a voice. Not hers, but a deep, resonant tone echoing in my mind. Words in a language I couldn't understand. That was Saran, she said softly. His essence lives here. When he died, I bound what was left of him to the garden. It's all that remains. The realization hit me. Her husband wasn't buried in the ground. He was here, suspended in light and petals. Can you speak to him? Yes. Only in memory, she said. He no longer answers. But when the wind moves through them, I imagine he still listens. We stood in silence for a while. I didn't know what to say. Every scientific instinct in me screamed to record everything, to document this living archive, but it felt wrong. This wasn't a specimen. It was love made immortal. Why did you bring me here? Finally asked. She turned to me, her eyes shimmering. Because your kind searches for life among the stars, but you never ask what it costs to keep living when all else is gone. The confession. Over the next few days I returned often. Irini told me stories of her people, their music, their cities that grew like coral, their dreams of touching the edges of galaxies. I recorded none of it. Some truths are too sacred to capture. Each time I visited, the house seemed weaker. The walls dimmed, the air thinner. Irini herself moved slower, as though gravity had grown heavier upon her shoulders. You're dying, I said one evening. She smiled faintly. I have been dying for centuries. But lately, it feels closer. Isn't there anything I can do? My ship has medtech energy cells. She raised a hand to stop me. You misunderstand, Elias. I do not want to live longer. I want to finish what I began. What do you mean? She led me back to the memory garden. The blooms flickered weakly now, their colors fading. When Saran's essence was bound here, it was imperfect, she explained. I remained to repair it, to make him whole. But the process required two living souls, the creator and the companion. He was the creator. And I. She paused. I am no longer whole myself. My heart clenched. So you can't restore him? No. But you can. I took a step back. What? How? The human mind is adaptable, curious, resilient. You could complete the circuit, stabilize his echo. But doing so would require sharing. Sharing what? Your mind. Your memories. Your essence. Understood then. She was asking me to merge, to link my consciousness with a dead alien soul trapped in a garden of light. Sounded impossible, dangerous. But when I looked into her eyes, so full of grief and fading hope, I couldn't refuse. Tell me what to do, I whispered. The joining. Irini guided me to the center of the garden. The air shimmered as the blooms gathered around us, their light converging into a spiraling halo. Close your eyes, she said, and remember something you love. I thought of Earth, the smell of rain on concrete, my mother's laugh, the first sunrise I saw from orbit. The light grew brighter until I felt it entering me, threads of warmth weaving into my thoughts. I could hear Saran's voice now, faint and distant, echoing through my skull. Who are you? Friend, I answered silently. She waits for me. No. The sensations were overwhelming. Images of alien oceans, cities carved from crystal, stars dying in silence. I felt Saran's love for Irini, fierce and eternal. His regret for leaving her alone. And then I felt her, Irini, her presence surrounding us both, her mind a vast, shimmering ocean of sorrow and tenderness. "Do you see now?" she asked. "Yes," I whispered. "You've been keeping him alive through love. And now it is time to let go." The light flared one last time, and then suddenly everything went still. When I opened my eyes, the blooms were gone. The garden was dark. Irini stood before me, her form flickering. "It's done," she said softly. "He is free. But you," she smiled, her body turning translucent. "You gave him a voice again. Now I can rest." I reached for her, but my hand passed through air. "Wait, please." Her last words were a whisper. "Thank you, Elias. Remember us." And then she was gone. The aftermath. When I stumbled back to camp at dawn, the others thought I'd been hallucinating. There was no trace of the living house, no glowing garden, no alien widow, just sand and ruin. But when I closed my eyes, I could still feel them. A quiet presence in the back of my mind. Two voices intertwined in eternal harmony. I finished my report, but I never submitted it. Some discoveries aren't meant for the record. Instead, I left a marker where her home once stood. A single stone carved with 3 words. She remembered love. Epilogue. Years later, long after the mission ended, I returned to 8 Heon 4 alone. The planet was colder now, the air sharper. I found the marker still standing. When I touched it, I felt warmth, faint but real. And for a brief moment I heard them again. "Elias, you kept your promise." Tears blurred my vision. I smiled and whispered, "Rest well, both of you." As I turned to leave, a soft light flickered behind me, one single bloom rising from the sand, glowing with the same gentle violet hue as Irini's eyes. And I realized then that love, even alien love, is the one force in the universe that never truly dies.